Hey guys, welcome into Sports Around the Bar. I hope your week's been going great so far to this point anyway. We're only through Monday, but hey.
Yeah.
Hope it's off to a good start, and as always, I am Jake, your bartender. This is Drew, my co-host here on Center Stool, and we got, unfortunately, some bad news to talk about.
Yeah. You said it was a good week, and I was like,
I hope your week is off to a good week, is what I said.
Your personal week was off to a good week. Yeah. That's definitely the way to go. Man, I think everyone got shook yesterday. I think the whole world got shook, and I think it was pretty crazy. Michael, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. Chris, correct. Go Chiefs, man. Thank you for the love. Appreciate you being on the show.
And we are going to be all over the Super Bowl on Thursday and possibly Sunday. We're talking about what we're going to do for the Super Bowl. Hopefully we're going to come on beforehand, talk about it with you guys live, but for sure Thursday, for sure Sunday. Today we are going to talk about some other stuff, unless you have a quick question you want to talk about. Again, we're not going to shy away from anything either.
Adam, good to see you, man. He says, rest in peace, Kobe. Nathan, good to see you as well. Saying the same. We didn't really talk about what we were going to talk about on the show today. I mean, it's kind of been a very, mellowed out,
sobering
scenario.
week, for sure.
So, without even asking, and I don't need to ask, guys, give us your favorite moment in the comments about Kobe. Give us what you'll always remember about if it was on the field, off the field. Tell us about it. We'll read it, we'll comment on it, and we'll move on, because I think that's kind of the best way to really remember Kobe. The best way is to go, what makes you always think of Kobe?
Mine is actually, even beyond all the championships, everything else, all the great moments, the 80-point game, it was the last game where he dropped 60. And this is after, he spent the last year on the goodbye tour where he was out there, but he wasn't really playing, or it was almost more symbolic that he was out there than it was actually functional for the Lakers, because they weren't very good as a team back then. Right. And then he goes and puts 60 on the board one last time. Like, that was the last bit of basketball we could get out of Kobe Bryant in that moment, and just for it to happen that way and him to go out, the prolific shooter that he was. And everyone used to give him crap for that. Now we love him for it. Like you said, everybody says Kobe when they shoot at the trash can. Just for him to go out like that to me was my favorite moment.
Yeah.
It's that Mamba mentality one last time.
I'm actually going to bring up a moment that probably, I don't know a whole lot about, but I know when the 2008 Olympics were coming, were happening, and he was part of that team, he was asked to take on a different role. He was asked not to necessarily shoot as much as he normally shot. And I know it's Olympics, but if you remember the 2008, it was not an easy goal for the U.S. team to win it. And what I saw with Kobe and coming during those crucial times of becoming a leader of already a group of leaders, he did it. And that's kind of what I think about Kobe every time, is where he'd always take his team, regardless of who's around him, and put it on his shoulders and make it more about everybody than just himself. A very huge loss in the sports world. Absolutely.
And Michael's 100% right. He totally turned the sports world upside down, and for it to just be this sudden, it wasn't, some long battle with an illness or anything like that, or it was just a freak accident that happened in the fog because of a helicopter crash. And I know they're looking into, was this approved? From what I heard, somebody at the air traffic controller said that they were okay to make the flight even though they were canceling others. But for it to be something like this, that just out of the blue, I think that's just 10 times worse, as crazy as it is, because you don't really get to ever say goodbye to somebody like that.
Yeah, no, it's true. Nathan, he says Kobe's helicopter crash was just 10 minutes away from his house. Ugh. Man, that's crazy.
And we don't want to belittle all the other people that were on the helicopter. I think they said 9 people had died total in it.
Was it 7?
It's up to 9 now, I think.
I know his daughter. That's I mean, you hear that in every media. We're definitely not ignoring the other deaths. That's for sure. Obviously, his daughter, the pilot, the coach, all the other people that were involved, all the families that are shooken by this, and lives changed dramatically because of it. We're not ignoring it.
Yeah.
But let's be real. We're sports talk. This is what we talk about. We talk about sports, and as you can't shake it off feeling this is what we do for our living, and we enjoy doing so. We want to keep it to Kobe as much as possible, guys. But please feel free to comment as you will. Adam says Kobe's last game in L.A., he was in L.A. on vacation. He went to bet against Kobe, and he was talking trash in a local bar against some Lakers fans, and Kobe being Kobe made him look dumb. Yeah, no doubt about that, especially on that last
There's
game.
enough people that could say Kobe did that to them too. I wouldn't feel too bad. You're in pretty good company, Adam. Michael also says Kobe played hard as hell every night. Mine is his favorite memory is him putting up 50+ against Jordan. Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that nobody talks about. There's always the LeBron versus Jordan debate where who's better, but can you say LeBron is better than Kobe? I mean, that argument's out there. I think there's a lot of people that kind of downplayed that a little bit, even though, because Michael has won 6 instead of 5. Everyone says Michael Jordan. Are you better than Michael Jordan? But, I mean, the difference here, we're talking about one championship. Both of those guys totally undefeated in there. It's, when I think about Kobe Bryant, I say that he still doesn't get the same level of respect he probably should for a guy that was that good at basketball. It's just he was a little more polarizing, or he was just as polarizing. And maybe I'm just remembering that more because I grew up more in that era when Kobe was playing rather than when Jordan was playing. I started watching basketball towards the tail end of Jordan's career, so maybe I didn't go through it. But I remember everybody, it was either you loved Kobe or you hated Kobe.
Yeah.
And whether you hate him as a person or whether you hate him as a player is more as the player is what I'm saying. But there were a lot of people that just did not like Kobe because he took all the shots. And that was always the joke, right? Yeah, you scored 60 points, but you shot 300 times, everything else. But now that he's retired, I don't think I feel like all that negativity kind of went away. And everyone's like, yeah, I got to see something pretty special when I got to watch Kobe play.
Absolutely. Sean, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. Nathan, thank you for clearing that up. It wasn't 9 people. I to be honest, it shook me too close to the bone, having a daughter myself and knowing that he lost a daughter as well. Like, it's...
At least it wasn't what ABC reported at first, and it was all of them together on there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just
it was huge. Ryan, good to see you.
Crazy
man.
world where TMZ is right and ABC is wrong when we're talking about the news. But
well, they pay more for their information.
I know.
Ryan, good to see you, man. He says he'll always remember Kobe's passion for the game and his tenacity. I can't talk for.
And his tenacity to never quit.
I was there.
You got it.
I know.
You wanted me to finish it? You got it.
No, I got it. To never quit. People can argue about who's the greatest of all time. That's fine. He does not think you can argue Kobe's love and passion for the game and work ethic that outweighs anyone. Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I don't really like arguing who is the greatest either, but it's definitely going to be a debate for generations. They both meant so much to all different generations of basketball players and fans. So I'm with you, man. I'm not really huge about the arguments, but when you talk about maybe the top 5 or top 10, there's no doubt about it. Kobe's name is up there. No doubt about it.
I agree.
Kobe's name is up there.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. And Michael's right. He thrived off of people not liking him. It's fuel to the flames. It's part of that Mamba mentality where I'm going to work harder than you. You're not going to like it because I'm going to come out there and when I catch you slipping, I'm going to let you know. But I think that's what made even his teammates better. Like I was watching an interview where he was talking about it in practice. It's like you have to practice harder than you play in the game so that way you're ready. And he says, you may not like me in practice, but you know what? You'll like me after we win the ring.
Yeah.
And I think that was the best quote from it. I was like, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Adrian, good to see you. He says Brady to the Chargers.
Well, we are talking about Phillip Rivers on his way out. If you believe all of these rumors that are swirling, I mean, at first it was one story, and I was like, well, people say this kind of stuff all the time. I'm not sure we're going to talk about it. Then I saw a second time. Then I saw a third time. Then I saw a couple of the bigger sports talk people pick it up and say the Chargers are just reportedly done with Phillip Rivers. So we ready to move on and talk about Phillip?
No,
we got it all.
No, we got a couple more comments.
Okay.
Here. Rob, good to see you, man.
We'll talk about Brady to the Chargers in just a sec.
Rob, good to see you, man. Brian, good to see you as well. He says, goodness, so heartbroken for the families. An unsuspected loss of a legend so young. Absolutely. Ryan also comments, Kobe is the closest thing to Jordan, but let's not get into that today. Yes, Ryan, absolutely. We'll leave the greatest of all time to all different sports to later episodes in Sports Around the Block.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it for 3 hours. We could talk about it for 6 hours. You could come over. We could, all crack a beer open and we could debate it until the sun comes up tomorrow morning.
It's ridiculous.
But we do have other things we are going to talk about too, which is why I
don't agree with you.
You don't agree with me. That's okay.
No,
you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. You can be wrong. You're allowed.
Yeah, no, trust me.
You can have your opinion as wrong as you want it to be.
So yeah, let's.
With that, why don't we move on?
Yeah,
Again, we try not to dwell on these kind of things. We talk about it a lot. We try not to dwell on the negatives. Obviously, nobody's rooting for anything like this. So, with that, we just want to let you know that we're remembering Kobe today too. We hope, again, if you watch basketball coming up like I did, you're still probably shooting things at the trash can saying Kobe all the way through. It just maybe has a little bit more meaning now.
All day yesterday and today. It's been hard not to rethink about it. Just to end it up from my end is I've actually never been a Kobe fan. I didn't dislike him. I just didn't like him.
You're a Nuggets fan.
So I was a Nuggets fan, which he was always the end of my team not going further into them and the Spurs into the playoffs and into the championship. So, no hate towards him, but no doubt about it, shook my world a lot, especially just all the circumstances of it. But you're right. We don't want to dwell on it. That's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about...
Well, Adam agrees with me. Just real quick before we get out of here, I just want to let you know, I'm not the only one out here in Ireland. He says that Kobe's the closest thing to Jordan that there ever will be. Bold, but I appreciate it.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not.
You just called me crazy 3 seconds ago, and you're saying you're not... Never mind. We're moving on. Phillip Rivers. Out in San Diego.
Is that what I said?
It's not San Diego anymore.
Did I say you were crazy for calling Kobe the closest thing to Jordan? I didn't say that.
I felt like you did.
Well, if I did, I was crazy for saying that.
All right, I'll have to go back and rewatch.
I thought I said I agree. Regardless if it's a top 5 or top 10, Kobe's name is involved in that conversation. I said I don't want to talk about who's greater.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Moving on, Adrian says, do we think Drew Brees will be the same in the 2020 season? Well, here's the thing I think about Drew Brees. He gives you about 12 great games at this point. And I think this year, what actually helped him was the injury. He came back a lot more rested and not taking the hits for an entire season. We saw the best of Drew Brees pretty much all the way until the playoffs. I think at this point, you're talking more about load management. And that's not something that ever comes up in football. But I think if I'm the Saints and I can somehow retain Teddy Bridgewater, or if not, I believe in Taysom Hill, and I think he can actually get me through some of my games, why not sit Drew Brees a couple times? I'll put him on the injury report. Nobody will know. He's questionable, and then stiffness going into the game, or his back wasn't right, or something like that. And I'm going to try to get Drew Brees about 10, 11 games into the regular season. I think at this point, at his age and the hits he's taken, he hasn't held up as well as Tom Brady's held up.
Adrian, clarify yourself. You said Saints, my bad. Are you asking if Drew Brees will be with the Saints?
Oh, with the Saints? Yeah, he's going to be with the Saints.
Yeah, if that's the case, 100% he's going to be with it. Just clarify.
Is he going to be the same guy that he's been for the past couple seasons? Again, time. I feel like Drew Brees is slowing down a little bit. I'm not saying he can't be elite, because he's had. Just look at this year. He had some games where he was absolutely lights out, and then he had some that were a little more middling, where you're kind of like, I'm not crazy about it. And maybe that all culminated when they played the Vikings. Maybe it was a bad game. You could argue that, and I can't emphatically say you're wrong. But I think when you look at Drew Brees, it's almost like the writing's on the wall, where we need to protect this guy now more than ever.
And beyond that, if he's going to stay with him, yes, 100%. You could sit there and say that he's satisfied with that one ring and that he's done his job, but he never plays like, he never practices like, he didn't say it, didn't act like it. He wants more. He'll be there. He wants to be there for this team. To be honest, I think this is where he retires, man. To be honest, I don't think he's going to play any other team or uniform besides the Saints till the end of his career.
It would have to be contender, right? He's not going to Tampa Bay and hanging around. He's not doing the Ryan Fitzpatrick tour where he's like, hey, if you're a bad team and you need to rebuild, I could be that placeholder for a couple of years.
It less shocks me that Brady's leaving than if Drew Brees left. It would shock me more if Drew Brees left the Saints, because it's different. It's not like he was drafted there when he came in there to play after the Katrina, winning the Super Bowl for that city. All the conversation. I know they all say this, but Drew Brees just feels like a different type of person, where he's like, I'm here to rebuild the city, and let's all be honest, Katrina and all that damage, that city's not completely rebuilt still from all that disaster and devastation that it caused in that storm. I don't see him going anywhere, but that's just my opinion.
I don't either. Rob says he's been a Chargers fan for 15-plus years, and he doesn't like that Rivers is going, but he's ready for some wins and a change. Rob, I'm kind of with you. It's one of those things that if he leaves and things go poorly, you're going to be like, man, I miss Phillip Rivers. And then when he leaves and maybe you go get one of these rookies or you go sign another quarterback and things start to go a little bit better, you're like, well, it was just time for a change. It's time to move on. We can't argue that Phillip Rivers has been a great quarterback for them, but he has not gotten them to the promised land. And if you're not the guy, you have to get the guy. I think the worst thing that a team can do is become romantic about a guy, and I think the Giants did this with Eli Manning, where, yes, he won them 2 Super Bowls, and then they gave him about 5 or 6 years where he was not good enough to get them there again. You have to almost be that cold-hearted machine that's just going to say, do I think Phillip Rivers can get us to the Super Bowl at this point? And watching him this year, I don't think he can. I don't. Maybe it was a bad year. He's never been a mobile quarterback. The offensive line has pretty much always been bad out there in now L.A., what used to be San Diego. I almost did it again. But I think when you talk about Phillip Rivers, he's not 28 anymore. He's not going to take a pounding and put up almost 5,000 yards and not make any mistakes. And I think we're starting to see that creep in. And I think it's time to move on as well. I'm with you, especially now that you have the draft pick where you can go and get somebody. I don't know if it's going to be Herbert. I don't know if it's going to be Tua Tagovailoa that they go and trade up and try to make a play for. But the Chargers should go out and get one of these young draft picks, and I think they absolutely are in position to do so.
Now, Rob, the only issue I have with your comment is the fact that you want some wins. I don't think Brady's the answer. I don't think, any of these guys, maybe outside of like Andy Dalton, is going to bring you more wins or close to the same wins that Phillip Rivers is. When you bring in a rookie and you expect him to play week one, I mean, you're asking for someone to do something that's incredibly hard to do in today's NFL. And I know we've seen a lot of outliers like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and other quarterbacks like that, but you cannot expect that every time.
Right.
So when you say some wins, I hope you mean just not go winless, because
good to see you, Frank.
I do think you had to take a step back when you move away from a Hall of Fame quarterback, who, in my opinion, Phillip Rivers is.
Mine too.
You are going to expect to take your wins to go down, but that's year one.
It's rebuild mode.
You hope to see improvement. I hope that's what you meant with it, but I'm right there with you, man. I mean, it's a change. It's a huge change for the Chargers, because as we see Eli retire and Phillip go on to his next destination, there's no doubt about it. Those two people meant a lot for that organization, regardless of a ring or championship or not. Phillip Rivers and what he did in a Chargers uniform is huge.
And the problem with Brady going to the San Diego, never. They'll always be San Diego to me. In my heart, they're always San Diego. The problem with Brady going out to L.A. and playing for the Chargers, the offensive line is bad. When I said Phillip Rivers isn't dodging anyone, Tom Brady's not in any better shape, where he's not going to be Lamar Jackson. He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, where he's going to shuffle and move around and make things happen in the backfield. You're not getting that out of that guy. You need to put an offensive line that's going to protect him more often than not. And right now, the Chargers just don't have that. They've played musical chairs for years trying to get that, and it just has not worked yet.
Yeah, and I have concerns about what you're giving up to move up, because this team has a lot of other holes, like you just brought up, the offensive line. You trade up to get one of these higher-end quarterbacks. If that was the decision, what's worth giving up from taking away from other positions you could build? And that is another concern the Chargers have to think about when they move forward.
Well, let's talk about that, because I want to talk about where Phillip Rivers can go, and I think that's incredibly important. But I also want to talk about the other angle from this, which is, what do you do when you're the Chargers? I know you mentioned Andy Dalton, but is Andy Dalton more than a stopgap? Outside of a team that's ready to win, like if he could have a Tannehill year, I think, where maybe you get the renaissance. He goes somewhere, he's incredibly motivated, you have a great team around him, and good things happen for your team, and maybe he leads you deep into the playoffs. Are the Chargers that team? Because right now I see cracks in the offensive line. I think you need more skill positions. I think your running backs are great, but I think you need more wide receivers. I know everybody's in love with Hunter Henry out there when he's healthy, but he has injury problems, and every time I watch Hunter Henry, there's games he's taken away at times too. I like Hunter Henry, but I just don't think he's not Travis Kelce. He's not George Kittle, where he's just going to dominate every game, and 12 of your 16 weeks, he's going to lead the action. You've got Keenan Allen right now. You need more pass catchers. You need better offensive line. If Andy Dalton's going to come into this, I think they're another 6-win team.
Well, I'm only throwing out a name. I mean, there's plenty of other free agents out there that they can go chase. I do think they need a veteran presence in that locker room, and I think it makes a huge difference. As Rob says, offensive line is horrible. They need any quarterback right now. Lots of changes coming for this organization. Why not have someone like Andy Dalton, where he could have a coming into his own season with the Chargers? Regardless of a lot of problems that they don't have near as much problems as the Cincinnati Bengals have. And how Andy played behind that team, and with those weapons, when you think about someone like I just blanked out on the wide receiver's name.
Tyler Boyd?
No, the wide receiver's name for the Chargers. I just blanked out.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry. Those weapons are night and day difference about what they have right now in Cincinnati. Yeah. So, is Andy Dalton the answer? No. But could he be? Yes. Because you got to remember, this guy's still young in his career. Would you, right now at this point in time, take a high top tier if Andy Dalton can play it at Andy Dalton's level? Let's not forget, this guy holds one of the records for taking his team to playoffs in the consecutive years in a row with, a good team
Mm-hmm.
in the Cincinnati Bengals at that time. Could we see that again? And how much would that mean for the Chargers? Because let's not ignore this. The Chargers have not been going to the playoffs over and over and over.
But they've been lauded. They've been lauded to get there, and it's
Andy
like
Dalton,
something bad happens every time in every year. Right. That is the reason they don't. Like they had the kicking
Andy
problems.
Dalton's a difference.
And he could. They could
and
be.
one last thing before
maybe
you
it's
go
maybe
on
he
to
throws less interceptions, and that's the difference.
One more thing, just before you can go on to what I had to say is, and another thing that we got to talk about. Andy Dalton's a lot more mobile than Phillip Rivers is. Andy Dalton's not going to go out there and break crazy passes like Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, or runs like Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, but he is a lot more mobile than Phillip Rivers is.
And I'll give you that. But again, we're still talking about a pocket passer or a guy who operates best standing in the pocket. He's not the guy that when the play breaks down is always just making all these plays. I think when you talk about Andy Dalton, you got to protect him. And if I'm bringing Andy Dalton in, my whole offseason is going to be like, we need to put an offensive line out here. I know I said we need weapons, but we've got the running backs. We've got Hunter Henry. We've got Keenan Allen. I got to protect this guy. If we can do that, maybe it works out. I'm not saying you're going to be 6 wins when you sign Andy Dalton, but if you don't fix the offensive line, and it's so hard to do. We talk about it all the time. You build an offensive line and you win. It's so easy to say. It's so hard to do. The Chargers have been trying to do it for like 10 years, it feels like. I feel like their offensive line has been bad forever. But I just don't see a solution where Andy Dalton comes in and dominates with the Chargers. Even if the defense comes back, they lost Derwin James, and that I think was massive for them.
And again, I don't say that he is. I'm just saying, why is he not capable of doing it, or why wouldn't he be able to? And that's just my point. Is we've seen some top tier play out of Andy Dalton.
If I had to grade it, I'd say it's a C+.
I just don't know if the Chargers can do it. Well, we liked Tannehill coming to Tennessee, but we didn't.
And he was too. He went from a C+ to like an A, right?
Yeah, but we didn't think he was going to do as well as he did.
No, we didn't.
We got a couple other quarterbacks changing teams here. Frank says Rivers to Tampa Bay, and Ian says Matthew Stafford to New England.
He also said the best move in the offseason would be Dalton to Tampa Bay. Let's talk about that. Andy Dalton to Tampa Bay really quick. Same problem. Offensive line. Except here, even though you have the receivers, you don't have the running backs. San Diego has... forever. San Diego had... no, I just did it twice. L.A. The L.A. Chargers, the Chargers of Los Angeles, have running backs in Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon that are absolutely fantastic. They're going to be able to carry the load. They're going to take the pressure off them. Tampa Bay doesn't have that. It's all you. I mean, Peyton Barber, as much as I think he's a quality second running back, I don't think he's great. I don't think Ronald Jones is the answer. They need to build an offensive line, and then maybe one of those guys gets better. But again, you're in the same pit, and he was there in Cincinnati, and you saw how far it got him. Yeah, he looked good at times, but how many games did they win? 2, and it took like a last second surge where they were like, we don't want to be winless to get a couple of those wins.
Yeah. Hey, Will, good to see you, man. We'll get to your comment in a second. I will get to it because it's a good comment. I want to talk about Stafford going to the Patriots. So, my first question is: are the Lions really giving up on Stafford?
That's my question. Everyone's ready to call him dead. I've heard all these rumors, and yet nothing ever seems to change. I mean, last year I heard the same ththing. Patricia wants a new quarterback. The Lions weren't good last year. Well, they didn't do anything. Maybe this wasn't the guy. But
can you blame Stafford for all that?
No, I mean, Stafford's like the best quarterback on a worse team. I mean, same thing. The offensive line has not been great for him. It's been okay. It's been better than some of those teams I was just talking about, especially in the pass blocking, but they've never consistently had a running game. They got Kerryon Johnson now, but they're not a run-blocking line, so they're struggling to run the ball at times, and he got hurt this year too. I don't think his weapons are particularly great. Even when Golden Tate and Marvin Jones were there, again, that's a halfway decent tandem. You're probably somewhere around 15th around the NFL or maybe 12th. But you're not the Buccaneers that you have just killers in Godwin and Evans. You're not the Chiefs where you have Kelsey and Tyreek Hill that can just blaze it up and destroy any defense they come against. You've got guys. I mean, Marvin Jones did nothing in Cincinnati. I think Matt Stafford has made Marvin Jones or brought the best out of him if you want to be a little bit more on the bright side of things. Yeah. I think Golden Tate's a quality receiver, but I don't think Golden Tate's a world beater. You don't win a Super Bowl with Golden Tate because you have him.
Right. I mean, Stafford's the reason why Golden Tate's still in the league, in my opinion, is what he did.
Well, Russell Wilson might disagree. He's like, I tried. But if you remember, Golden Tate came out and said that Stafford was the best quarterback he's ever played with.
And his numbers went up significantly.
Quick shot at him.
Stafford throwing the ball to him. I want to get to Will's comment here. He says Tampa Bay should sign Conklin and draft Kinlaw.
Trying to steal Jack Conklin from the Titans, man.
And Winston will sign a 3-year, $75 million deal. No vet quarterback is coming to Tampa Bay. Does that fix everything that's going on with Tampa? I won't even say Conklin. Let's say they sign a veteran offensive lineman that
it's Conklin. It's Conklin or bust.
That it's really.
I think when you're talking about tackles, nobody's letting their great left tackle go.
Well, and we say that, but you see it happen year in and year out.
No, not year in and year out. Once in a while.
They don't sign contracts. They end up trading them, or they do end up trading them, or they don't.
Or you get Washington.
It happens almost every year. Dude, think about this.
Who was out there last year? Even 2 years ago, the Patriots. So you could say Trent Brown. The Patriots let Trent Brown go, but outside of the Patriots, who let their offensive lineman go?
The trade to Miami.
Okay, but what did they get for that? But what did they get for that?
My point is there's always
not Brandon Albert. I was talking about Miami's trade to send the Houston Texans somebody
their left tackle. Who is that?
Laramie Tunsil.
Laramie Tunsil. That's who it was. I'm sorry.
They did trade Albert too, but that was a couple of years ago.
But Jeremy, whatever Tunsil. Exactly. That was my point.
But they got multiple first-round picks.
The point is there are always left tackles out there. If Tampa Bay, which I know Will feels this way,
wants to trade multiple first-round picks
to win now, and if this, and that's goes back to my original question, does bringing in a veteran lineman and drafting arguably the best lineman in the draft, does this fix everything that Tampa Bay is trying to do and win a championship?
It's a step forward. No, and let me cut that win a championship part of your sentence off. Does this help Tampa Bay? Of course it does. Yes, I think that's stepping forward.
That's the ultimate goal.
But I think we're delusional thinking that bringing in one player at this point is going to make Tampa Bay a Super Bowl team.
Oh, that's not what I'm getting.
No, I know. But you put it on the end of the sentence. That's what I'm saying. Tampa Bay is not going to a championship by bringing one guy in. This isn't a one-guy affair. This is a 7-guy affair. Or no, that's too harsh. Last year was a 7-guy affair. They brought in Shaq Barrett, who looks like he could be a quality edge rusher. I don't think this year is going to happen every year. I think this year was probably that year where he kind of stuck it in Denver's eye a little bit for letting him go when they had Bradley Chubb and they had Von Miller and they decided he wasn't worth it. Yeah. But if you get 80% of that, 70% of that, you've got an amazing player in him. You have a defense that's playing well. Maybe you get one more great year out of their defensive tackle, who's, again, Ndamukong Suh. Yeah. It's now a 4-person affair. You need some offensive linemen. Yes, Jack Conklin is, I think, the best answer. And you're saying Laramie Tunsil as an example. They traded too much because they didn't have a GM to make that happen. That's a bad thing. Again, Houston's offensive line went from terrible to not very good, and now they don't have first-round picks for multiple years.
You're a Tampa Bay fan. That's your second favorite team, but you have to think about someone like Will, who
keep going
has the right to say that it is his favorite team. Are we still going?
Perhaps. I think I think so.
Guys, sorry we had some
little choppy, but we're going.
Difficulties, but my point is Will could sit there and say that this is his favorite team.
Okay.
And Will has very much been very behind this, and he's saying we are only a few steps away from being in the playoffs. We're only a few steps away from getting ourselves into a role to win a championship. So, Mike, again, 2 offensive linemen, does it help get them that role? And I'm with you. They need a lot more.
It's a massive step in the right direction.
But there is people out there like Will that think that's what they're just that far off. They're just
an offensive line away.
Cover Jameis Winston. Let him have time to be able to, look at the field and not make a turnover.
The thing I'll say is offensive line is a unit. So even if you go and pony up for Jack Conklin, which I think you should, if he hits free agency, if the Titans can't afford him, I think, and that's a very likely scenario to happen. If that happens, I think Jack Conklin is the best option for anyone out there if you have the money to sign him. I'm not sure where Tampa Bay falls this year. I know last year they were super tight against it, and I was looking at some of their contracts in the offseason, and I was like, they're going to be in some financial trouble going forward. But if you can sign Jack Conklin, it's a massive step in the right direction. But offensive line is a unit. You don't just... Unless your name's Quentin Nelson, one guy doesn't come into an offensive line and turn things around.
Richard, good to see you, man. He says, sorry, no disrespect, but this is too much hot air. Is your heater on?
I think you got us last time. Yeah. Well, at least you don't have to worry about those electricity bills coming in the winter because we're here to warm up your house.
We're keeping you warm. I just want you to know that, man, we appreciate you jumping in and commenting regardless of what it is. man, again, Richard, we've asked you this before. Tell us how you feel, man. Let us know why you think we're full of hot air. We'd love to debate you on anything on sports.
And Ian says, don't worry, he lives in L.A., and they still call him the San Diego Chargers. I know, nobody's showing up to the games. When they show up, then I'll change the name to L.A.
And he also finds it funny that no one has ever called the Rams the St. Louis Rams.
It's true.
I did for a while, but that's because I'm a Chiefs fan. They have that whole trophy they do with each other for the whoever wins when they face each other.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what it's called, so that's how much I obviously pay attention to it.
My final point here, just real quick on Tampa Bay, and then we'll move back to Phillip Rivers and where he should go and what the Chargers should do. Because I know we kind of got sidetracked a little bit, but, never happened before. Tampa Bay is still multiple offensive linemen away. I don't know that paying one guy an obscene amount of money solves that, but I love the way Jack Conklin plays. He'll put up a few more penalties than you want to see because he's one of those nasty kind of road grinders.
Yeah.
But teams need that guy. You're going to have some holds. You're going to have some offsides and some false starts, I should say. But teams want this kind of just dirty, nasty, in the trenches kind of guy. When I say dirty, I mean like physical kind of guy that can set a tone for an offensive line. It's a great move going forward for Tampa Bay, but that you can't just sign Jack Conklin and say, all right, it's fixed now.
No.
I think more than likely the best spot Jack Conklin can stay at is right tackle because he's played there for 4 years. He's more of a grinder than he is a finesse kind of tackle. If they do that and they draft a guy and they maybe try to sign somebody else in free agency on the cheap, kind of like a Quentin Spain, like going to Buffalo last year, maybe we talk about Tampa Bay turning around the offensive line. But this is a multi-year build project. I think there's not a single guy in Tampa Bay's offensive line right now that I'm like they need to keep.
Yeah, I'm also with you as well. I also think another glaring hole, and you could say it's the offensive line, is running back. You need a playmaker back there.
But I will say this, things get better with the offensive line. Peyton Barber looks a lot better if this offensive line improves. Ronald Jones looks a lot better if this offensive line improves. Maybe Jameis Winston looks better with this line improving. Because as much as we love slamming Jameis Winston, and we do, as much as we love slamming Jameis Winston, he does not have a good offensive line.
Yeah, agreed. Will says Tampa Bay should just draft trench guys throughout the O-line and D-line. The secondary is right on the verge of being a breakout, and front seven is insane. Big problem is the O-line. By the way, we have $30 million in cap space to spend during the offseason, so he thinks they will turn everyone's heads and make everyone's believers. He says trust him on this.
Just be careful. The other team who said we're going to do that for like 12 years straight, Jacksonville. And outside of that AFC Championship run, has not worked. Usually, the best teams, there's a reason you don't see them throwing cash around in free agency. I mean, the Jets did this year. Were the Jets a great team? I think they were okay. It's one of those situations that you can't just pay people and assume you're going to get the same guy from wherever he's coming from. There's scheme fits. There's the pressure of living up to your big contract. There's everything that goes with it. I don't think you can just say, we're going to make it rain, and now we're going to be a good team. And to the Colts' credit, we were like, you guys should make it rain and see if you become a better team. They stayed a good team, or at least a decent one, and didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I think Jack Conklin is a very, very likely scenario for Tampa Bay or anyone that has the money to spend and is willing to pay a tackle about $17 or $18 million. I think he'll break Taylor Lewan's contract this year. Only because everything goes up. He's not a better player than Taylor Lewan, but he's close.
I think you're going to need to use all that $90 million and almost spend all of it to get irrelevant with this team if you expect Jameis Winston to be at the helm. And you can call me a hater, you can say whatever you want, but that's just my opinion.
It's just not happening.
Everything you show me is I'm going to turn the ball over consistently. If you could bring someone in like Andy Dalton, and then you can sit there and bring in Conklin and a left tackle out of the draft, or the best offensive lineman out of the draft, I think your team changes. Because Andy Dalton's not going to give you the 30 for 30. He's just not. That's not the type of player he is. Now, he might do 30-20, but do you know how much a significant change that is?
Or 25-15. But
yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that.
I think you got to recommit to the run game. And maybe Bruce Arians wants to do that, and this year wasn't the year to do that, but I think you just have to commit to the run game if you're bringing Andy Dalton in.
But I don't see it happening. I think Winston will be there. I think 3 years, 75 is probably right on the mark of where you guys should be with him.
Phillip Rivers, where does he go? He's a free man. Let's assume all these rumors are true. And again, I'm still a little skeptical. I'm still skeptical because this talk always comes out this time of year because nobody has anything else.
Tennessee.
Where does Phillip Rivers go? Well, there was the rumor back when we had
still there.
4 or 5 years ago, back when we had signed the guy from Arizona whose name I can't think of. He's my coach, and I can't think what his name is. Told you, man. I can't remember anything when I'm on the show.
Hold on. What? I was not.
Titans head coach a couple years ago. Former Cardinals head coach.
Ken Wisenhunt.
Ken Wisenhunt. Thank you. It's my team, and I don't know what the coach's name is. When they had Ken Wisenhunt, the rumor was the Titans were going to trade the pick that they spent eventually on Marcus Mariota for Phillip Rivers. The deal fell through. The rumor was the Chargers wanted a second first-round pick, and the Titans said, we're giving you pick 2 for a 33-year-old. Not happening. So that rumor was there. I won't say it won't happen. If Ryan Tannehill comes out and says he wants a $30 million contract, I would rather have Phillip Rivers at 22 than Ryan Tannehill at 30. I think the Titans, whatever they decide to do, need to spend $22 million on a quarterback and try to buff up the rest of this roster. I don't care if it's Brady, like all the everyone's putting every kind of connection to. I don't care if it's Rivers. I don't care if it's Tannehill. $22 million for a quarterback, 12 for a running back. That is Derrick Henry, and you can still spend money to bring everybody back. Maybe even then you have money to bring Jack Conklin back. They can't go and overpay a guy $33 million, especially Phillip Rivers, to make that happen. As for me, Indianapolis. Same thing I've always said. Get this man an offensive line. Count on the run game. The only thing I will say is if I'm Chris Ballard, I'm sitting Phillip Rivers down in the offseason meeting before we sign the contract, and I'm saying, look, Phillip, you're not throwing 44 times again. Every game, we're going to be looking to have you throw 22 times, and we win when you throw 18 because our running game is just winning like that. We need you to make the clutch, the 3rd and 6th throws. We need you to make the 3rd and 9s where we had a holding penalty and it pulled us back. That is the best scenario Phillip Rivers can find himself in. And all these quarterbacks moving out here.
And that's where I'm going to sit there and tell you that's not going to happen. If they're going to have a chance to get a free agent, and one that comes open is going to be Tom Brady because he's used to throwing the ball 20 times. He's used to making those 3 and 6, and only Tom's asking is to not be touched.
Phillip Rivers
is
a great,
his best
right?
chance to be there?
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Behind that, maybe Dallas. And again, I know everyone's like they're going to sign Dak Prescott,
Real
but
quickly,
if they miss him,
Will says Rivers will go to Miami.
No.
Ryan Fitzpatrick says he's already
You don't want
him. They want him.
More than that. You don't want Phillip Rivers if you're Miami. Why am I going to pay money that I could be saving at this point when you're this deep into a rebuild? I'm not taking shots at you.
He wants to be back.
I'm not taking shots at you here, Will. But again, if you're Phillip Rivers, you have no incentive to go to Miami. They're not going to be good for a year or two. If you're Miami, you have no incentive to play Phillip Rivers because he's not going to get any better.
You already got a veteran quarterback.
The only thing I could say is like if you have somebody to learn from, would you rather Phillip Rivers or would you rather Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I don't know. Rivers never had.
And is it a $25 million difference?
Rivers never had to coach anybody.
Yeah.
Rivers never had.
He was the usurper. He's the guy who came in and kind of booted Breeze out.
Maybe Billy Bullock,
Billy Bullock. But Billy Bullock was like 33 when he went over there.
Like a long time ago. I'm trying to think of the last time he had like anyone.
A halfway decent backup?
Yeah. I mean,
Volek was the man. I'm not going to lie. Former Titans fan. Volek was the man. He was like the best relief pitcher. He'd give you like 2 games a year where you're like, this guy's good. And then when he plays more than that, you're like, oh, okay, where's the starter? But yeah, Phillip Rivers is not going to Miami because I don't think it incentivizes either one of those, either the team or the player, to do so.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers wants a Super Bowl. You're not going to Miami.
Sean, unfortunately, Tom Brady will not be going to the Giants. There's no room for him. And
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is their future.
He's 22. Yeah, you got to believe in the future. You just spend the 6th overall pick at a quarterback. He bought himself 3 years for that by itself. Talking to you, Chicago fans, he was a high draft pick. He bought himself 3 years at least, starting. I know everyone's ready to crucify Mitch Trubisky, but man, give me 3 years on the field before we're ready to kick somebody out of here. We're ready to Josh Rosen everybody.
Let me give you this comment before I go grab our other beers. Ian says he doesn't know why, but he hears that a lot of Steelers fans are calling for the Steelers to sign Marcus Mariota to back up Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, they have a Tennessee connection, the Steelers did. I don't know if they still do it. Maybe part of it was Mike Munchak being their offensive line coach for so long. Long-time Titan, went on to Pittsburgh after he got fired as a head coach. But I think when you talk about Mariota going in as a backup, you have to know what you're getting. I think if you get him for the right price, Mariota can be a pretty good backup.
He'd be better than what they got right now.
But then again, Mariota's the guy that puts 16, 17, 18 points in the board, and you got to count on the defense to win.
Ian says that Phillip Rivers is going to Denver.
Next veteran quarterback coming in. Is this Elway's guy? He's our future. We got our guy.
Yeah, we got our guy. To be honest, just with history, I think any free agent with...
And yes, Will, we are doing a mock draft this year. Probably several.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, no, you're good. Just the history saying Denver will probably go for any free agent that has any kind of years behind center that has shown somewhat success, from literally Andy Dalton to Tom Brady, I think are all on their radar at this point. I still think they believe in Drew Lock. I don't think they're going to be drafting somebody, but I think they're still looking for that bridge guy before Drew Lock is ready.
The thing is, again, roster's not there yet. You need to spend some picks to make this team better to win a Super Bowl. You had Drew Lock have a couple good games or decent games for a rookie at the back half of the season.
Brandon Allen.
But they kind of like...
Well,
he had a good start, kind of like Kyle Allen did. I know, tale of the two Allens.
Undrafted versus a second-round, third-round pick.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more assets put into this guy to be good.
They gave him his chance. I don't know. Then you spent Drew Lock, the second-round pick, on him. So I think they're going to stick with their young guys. I think Denver wants to see what they have. And I think maybe Elway's bright enough that he's going to say, look, this isn't our year yet. We're not there just yet. So why not see if we've got the quarterback that can be the guy that takes a great team there before we go and shoot our wad. I almost said something else. Shoot our wad on a quarterback that's 38 and maybe on his way out the door.
Sonny, good to see you. He says he sees Rivers to Tampa Bay.
We did talk about that briefly, I think. If we didn't, we should have. I think maybe it was Dalton. Same kind of thing with Miami. I don't think they'll protect him very well. And when you have a guy that's this old, you just got to protect him. I know they didn't do a good job of him in San Diego or in LA this year, but look what happened. Is all I can say. Look what happened when they didn't protect him.
We'll let you know, man. We know if you are definitely going to be in the draft, you'll for sure get Tampa Bay. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, did you mean a fan draft? Yeah, we're gonna try to do that too.
Yeah, but we're not.
As for like our mock drafts, yeah, we're gonna do like 38 of them.
But we're not gonna sign anyone to teams just yet. We haven't decided how we're gonna do that.
Yeah, I have no idea how it's gonna run.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't have a clue.
If you get in, I promise you'll get Tampa Bay. All right?
No, yeah, no doubt.
You'll get Tennessee, just so you can spite me. I've talked all this garbage about Jameis Winston. You'll get to pick like the worst player in the draft.
You'll get to pick Kansas City. Enjoy that.
Jalen Hurts, 30th overall, or 29th for the Titans.
Enjoy that 32nd pick for the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, yeah. Well, they weren't going to get anybody any good. So.
Okay. Let's not. Hold on. Let's pump the brakes. They might. Drafts keep getting deeper and deeper every year, man.
Do they? Or do teams just keep finding guys further and further into the draft?
Which would entail that they're getting deeper.
No, I'm saying, are we just not good at diagnosing talent? We don't have time for this argument.
No,
all right,
we don't.
Real quick, what do the Chargers do? Again, you've got pick, 9 or 10?
They draft.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you trade up for Tua Tagovailoa, or do you likely stick around in that pick that you already have and go for Justin Herbert? Which do you prefer? You're the GM right now, because I'll give you my answer if you want.
No, I know. I think all draft picks are becoming outrageous for the cost of them, and I get like you get the flares like the Ravens going up and get Lamar Jackson, or the Chiefs going up and get Patrick Mahomes. Like those trades panned out, but usually the trades don't pan out.
Yeah.
Not saying it's not going to work, but Mitch Trubisky is just one of them I can think of on the top of my head where it's going up that one spot has not really paid out for the Bears just yet. I think they should stay where they're at. I think they should. They're going to fall in love with somebody, but they should just hope that it falls to them.
I mean, it could be Jake Fromm over Justin Herbert, but again, I think it's Justin Herbert. I think they've already said this is our guy, and that's why we're hearing all these rumors come out. I think somebody in that organization said, look, we love Justin Herbert. He's big. He's got a massive arm. At times, he looks unbeatable at Oregon. And then there's times where you're like, who is this guy? Why is he a starter? And the worst kind of thing that I've seen is it usually comes against the better defenses that he faced in the Pac-12 that you start to see some of those meltdowns. Again, Justin Herbert has all the physical tools that he's a scout's wet dream. He's 6'5". He's got a massive arm. He's accurate at times. He's mobile enough.
Phillip Rivers-esque.
Exactly, but he's faster. I mean, it's the scout's. Well, I'm not going to say it again. It's the best thing a scout can look for. The problem is just the inconsistency, and nobody can explain it. Why do you melt down? Why do you have these games where you just get shut out or you get shut down and you just don't look like yourself at times? Yeah. If not for that inconsistency, this guy would still be the first overall pick. We were talking about last year when he was coming out. If I'm, I didn't say it this time. I got real close. If I'm LA and I'm the Chargers, I'm trading up for Tua Tagovailoa.
Just call them the Chargers. Don't even say LA. I don't even know why you have to say a city.
I just always do. I don't know. Team. If I'm the Chargers, I'm moving up for Tua Tagovailoa and I'm paying whatever price it costs because I think The Lions will probably be very likely to do business with you, as well as a couple of the teams at the top. But you got to jump the Dolphins. I think they're likely to take a quarterback, and when they do, I think it's going to be Tua. You've seen those flashes of eliteness out of Tua. It seems like every time he's on the field, he's making things happen. He's the playmaker, and things are going well for him. It's just the health, and I'll gamble on the health.
Yeah.
I don't love this situation, but if I'm taking somebody, I like Tua a lot more than I like Justin Herbert.
He likes Jake Fromm. To be honest, man, I want to see everything put together. I want to see the tapes that they put together. I want to see the combine, because I think things like this is what makes teams make a huge change. Don't get me wrong. Nothing's going to happen at the top mark. I just blanked out on his name, too. I'm doing really well today as well. The number 1 draft pick this year that's going to happen.
Oh, Burrow.
Burrow. I said Boa. Mm-hmm. Burrow. Yeah, that's not going to change.
You got Tua and Burrow together.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But after that, I think it's open game. I mean, people might fall in love with Tua, but he's got injury problems. People might love Jake Fromm, which I'm very high on. I'd still like to see how he kind of matches up to the rest of the quarterbacks that are coming out in the draft, because there's always that one quarterback that no one really believes in that seems to make it. And, And I'm a little bit further along in the scouting process than you are. I love this stuff. I live for this. I know. And the games on the field, I started
that's cool.
a new job, man. It's hard for me to focus on anything else.
I love the stuff on the field. What I really love is, what is the GM going to do? What kind of contract does the guy give somebody? I love the front office kind of stuff.
I think there's that guy out there that no one's going to notice, and it's going to make a big difference. I think of Russell Wilson every time I think about that. That guy that got doubted just a little bit, and he falls far into the draft.
His name's Jacob Eason from Washington.
And that's the things that I like talking about, because those are guys that, and I think Jake Fromm is one of those guys too. You could bring up Justin Herbert being the number 1 draft pick last year, or going into it like he's going to be it. Jake Fromm was that guy too.
Yeah, 2 years ago when he was a freshman, he didn't have the choice. The difference with Herbert was he was a junior, and he could have left.
He could have.
And he was like, I want to come back. I want to set the record straight. I want to win a national championship with Oregon for a program, which if I'm a GM, I love the loyalty. Right? I mean, that means that guy might sign the contract if things don't go our way at the end of 5 years.
Yeah.
But he said, I want to set the record straight. And he gave up what probably would have been the first overall draft pick. And now we're talking about him falling, 8, 9, 10, maybe 6 if somebody trades up for him. I mean, I think Justin Herbert obviously has given up some of his draft position, but he's still a talented guy. You just have to work out that the slumps that he goes through. Because when he's on. And you're like, this guy is amazing. And when he's off, you're like, this is Jameis Winston when he's off. I don't want to draw that comparison, but he's a big guy with a big arm that is very hit or miss, so hot and cold, and he's not maybe that turnover
I would take
happy.
Jameis Winston over Jamarcus Russell comparison. So.
Yes, well, Jamarcus Russell was just like the physical specimen, and then you watch the guy play football, and you're like, who drafted this guy? Oakland. But beyond that, again, I think Herbert's still a good draft pick. I think that's likely where they're already going. I don't think you do this thinking you're getting Tua, because Miami could just as easily move up 2 spots, whereas you're moving up 6 or 7 to get to Detroit's pick. I think there's a very, very good chance that they wind up and they love Justin Herbert. And maybe it's Jake Fromm instead, but I think more than likely it's Justin Herbert, and they're gonna pull the trigger and just go get him. I don't think it's Andy Dalton. I don't think it's Tom Brady. I don't think it's Marcus Mariota. I really don't see the Chargers at this point, coming off of this season, going with a veteran instead and saying that'll get us somewhere better than what Phillip Rivers could get us.
Damn, Luke. Just cold. Luke is cold. He says he's gonna start yelling "dead" from now on when he shoots his shots.
Maybe we give that a couple days before we make that joke.
Man, it's just cold.
All right.
Ice water going through your veins, man. Ice water.
Ian says, the drink's free in Tampa Bay, picking up great defensive tackle from Iowa. AJ, he spelled it absolutely terrible. It's Epineza, I believe. And yeah, he's a beast.
He didn't, come on.
It starts with an E, I think.
Give him credit for trying to spell it. I wouldn't even be able to pronounce it.
Well, I'm just, it's EPIS.
So it's AJ from Iowa?
AJ from Iowa, yes.
Yes.
Again, I can't even say his name, but I think it's Epineza. He is absolutely...
Dude, I'm the Hawkeye fan here, and I can't even...
a first-round pick.
Ignore it.
Let me say this. He's a first-round pick, but the problem with him is we didn't see growth from year 1, from year 3. Again, the guy's been just solid all the way through. Very, very good. But you never saw the elite season as a senior. Like, we saw Chase Young just kind of, ramp up. Like, when he got on the field, you're like, whoa, he's good. And then you're like, oh my God, now he's great. And he's amazing. We never saw the improvement.
There's also those guys who are like, I'm doing enough until I hit the pros. I know my window is very
But is that the guy you
limited.
want? The I'm doing enough guy?
If it's until he hits the pros, absolutely.
And then he hits the pros and he says, I'm doing enough until I get to my contract. I'm doing enough until I hit free agency.
Sanu's one of those guys, and look how well Sanu's done and how teams keep picking him up.
Well, they pick him up, but then again, what's he done? He's lost the Super Bowl with Atlanta.
Yeah, and he was one of the best defensive linemen.
Didn't really do much with Cincinnati. Another guy that didn't really shine a whole lot in Cincinnati. Yeah, he was there with Marvin Jones back in the day.
Sanu?
Yeah, Mohamed Sanu. Before he went to Atlanta.
No, what?
Yeah.
No, not Sanu. Sue.
Oh, Nakamadan Sue.
Yeah.
You said Sanu, and I'm like,
well,
what are you talking about?
Obviously, these beers are getting to me, but that's not what I meant.
And Will says he would rather have Kinlaw since he has more passion. Passion is such an intangible. I think both of these guys want it. Again, I think you're getting a solid player in Epineza. I think what you're getting in Kinlaw is just a beast, a physical specimen. But that doesn't always translate either. That doesn't always translate either. But I like Kinlaw. I like Kinlaw a lot.
I want to rebuttal myself because that's not my point. You're like, that's not the guy you want. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but there are guys out there like the Bosas who don't play full-blown during college time because they don't want to hurt themselves so they get paid. Why is this guy all of a sudden so bad you don't want to have? That's my point.
But he's never had the performance that Nick Bosa had. And Nick Bosa is the best example of that. Joey Bosa, I didn't really feel like in college was like, I quit.
But that's my point is a lot of these players are not giving their all during college because they're not getting played for it or paid for it. That's where I'm getting at. Maybe this is scenario. I don't know this guy. That could not be it at all. Maybe he's at his peak for all I know. But my point is, why would you sit there and go, I don't want to give this guy any chance?
Well, I didn't say that.
If he is already a first-round pick, but he's not giving his all, wait until he does, or wait until a guy that just... J.J. Watt, a great example. Didn't do a whole lot in college. I mean, he was good. He was worth a draft pick, but he exploded in the NFL. And that's my point to this guy.
But the counter to that is all the guys that you're like, oh, well, I'm just not going to try hard to get to the pros. And then they get there and they say, I'm not going to try hard to here. It's a double-edged sword. You're right. There are some guys that succeed. And there's a lot of guys that you get that are like, oh, I'm not going to try my hardest. And the guy who says, I'm not trying, I know. But I'm saying the guy who says, I'm not trying my hardest, and I don't think he's that. I think he's like the most consistent defensive lineman out there. He's just consistently very good. As opposed to when you watch Chase Young where you're like, that was magical. I just watched the best defensive end play or edge rushing play that I've seen in college football maybe ever. You don't have those moments out of Epineza. What you do have, instead, is just the solid guy all the way through. The problem is sometimes the solid guy turns to the average guy when he gets to the pros, and if it is what you were talking about, and I'm just going off of what you were saying, and he's saying, I'm saving myself in the NFL, the problem is that guy says, I'm saving myself for the contract. I'm saving myself for this or for that, for this and that, and there's just not enough drive. It's a negative. It is absolutely negative if a guy's saying, I'm not going to give it up my all because I'm not being paid just yet.
He's never gonna come out and say that, but I got no issue with it.
And I would hope not.
Again, Nick Bosa pretty much was the first one.
But Nick Bosa got hurt, and Nick Bosa looked elite. When he was on the field, he was shredding guys, and then he got hurt, and he's like, I'm just done.
There's a lot of players that don't play in bowl games because of this.
Yeah, but they put up great tape beforehand.
So why do you think AJ is any different? That's like I'm just getting my point across. Is he could have done.
Well, he did play all the way through, and I did not see the just elite play. I was never like, this could be the best defensive end ever drafted, ever. What I saw was kind of like...
I'm not saying he is that either, but my point is what do you have a problem with someone where it's like, I'm going to do my effort, but I'm not going to go above and beyond? Because that only hurts me in the long run.
Because I want the Kobe. I want the Kobe in this, to bring it back to Kobe. I want the Kobe. You're right, but I want Kobe's. I want guys that are like Kobe. I want the guy that says, I don't care what I'm playing, I'm going to just prove that I'm the best. Because I want to be the best. I don't want the guy that's saying I'm saving myself or something, because there might be a play where I need him to make a tackle and he needs to be the best instead of him saying, I'm making a business decision. I'm letting this go. That is my point. That is a negative. Does that mean you should never draft somebody like that? No, because you can have good players that might have that mentality of, well, I'm saving myself.
Yeah,
but it is a negative. It's when I see it as a GM, I want the selfless guy. I want the team first guy. I want the guy who says, I'm ready to bleed for this, and I want you to do it too, or we have problems. That's the guy I want.
Yeah, well,
Not everybody can be that guy.
Yeah.
You don't all get to pick first
There's
overall.
a lot of very high-paid players in the NFL that are nothing like what you just said.
Sure. And a lot of them are like C.J. Mosley. They're like, man, you know what? Life's good here on the Jets,
And
but I'm out.
And so you're asking.
But I do like C.J.
you're
Mosley. I take that back. I should not say that because I think C.J. Mosley is the opposite of that.
And that's what a lot.
No, it's not a unicorn. I think there are a lot of guys that say, I am going to go out there.
You want a Kobe. That's a unicorn.
Yeah, because he's the nth level degree of that, where he's so far, he is that mentality times 10. But I want the guy that at least is that mentality.
Jarrell Casey didn't do a lot in college. I mean, he wasn't like huge.
Sure, yeah, nothing wrong. You don't have to have the best career.
That's
but Jarrell
my
Casey, no, you missed the point. And this is exactly it. You're saying you want the guy who saved. You're saying it's okay to save yourself. Jarrell Casey is not the guy who saves himself. Jarrell Casey is the guy that goes out and lays it on the line. And you didn't know who he was because he wasn't that good, but he improved.
If he did well enough to succeed, you're asking him to go above and beyond. And maybe he just couldn't do it without more development, more age underneath his belt.
Not everybody's polished, and you're right there.
And that's my point is, if he's like, man, if I push myself any further, I am not. I don't even want to get in this conversation because I'm not even. It's that I don't know what happened. My point is that this guy is just a glimpse of what he can be, which is a lot of players in the college draft.
I think what it boils down to is work
I got
ethic.
no issue with this guy going, I can't get myself hurt before I start making money.
There,
and Will, real quickly, because Will says, let's not lie to ourselves.
Sure.
Some college players do get paid, but Will, they're not
they
getting
do,
paid
like this.
And they're also not getting paid where they can admit they're getting paid, so they still live a very docile life.
You can't go out and buy the Mercedes because you're getting paid $100,000. You can't go out and buy whatever you want because, again, all the scrutiny's on you. But my point, Drew, just to round out our conversation there, it's about work ethic. And I think Ebenezer has that work ethic.
I think so too.
From Iowa, he is that. He is work ethic.
It was a bad comparison. I was just trying to bring up a conversation.
That is a negative when a guy says, "I'm going to save myself." In my book, and you could be different. That's
Bosa
fine.
did it.
You can't. Yeah, he did, and he worked out. But we also saw the elite flashes, and it's worked out. But what happens? What happens when this team isn't that good and Nick Bosa quits on them?
You saw that enough with AJ to make him a first round.
He's still a first round pick. Yes.
Yeah. That's my point.
And everyone, I don't think anyone's saying that he's going to fall out of the first round. There's so few defensive ends there.
Maybe he didn't go out vocally saying, "I'm going to save myself."
Yeah, and I don't think he was saving either. The guy's been consistently playing through his college
I don't think so
career.
either.
I think he was a true freshman starter.
He was a terrible comparison, but that was just my point behind it.
I got you. All right, we'll move on. Why don't we talk about whatever else we were going to talk about? What were we talking about? You guys remind me. Everyone out there.
Will says, here goes the Monday Night Raw here. Jake and Drew for the hardcore title. No, actually, this is just how we talk about everything. I know we put a camera in front of us here, but, dude, how many times have we done this about, literally nonsense?
12 times before we started the show. Luke also says you can give them 110%, and they will expect that every time. Yes, but isn't that the guy you want, the guy who gives the 110%? And that was my point. Yeah, there are great players that don't give their all the time. Yeah. They have low motors, but then sometimes they come up great.
Yeah.
There are also guys, and I think Kyle Vanden Bosch, just because I'm a Titans fan, is the best example of this, where you're like, he's not the best player, but he gives 138%, except I think Jared Allen was better than Vanden Bosch, so... but he's not the best player, but he gives 120% every time. And because of that, he makes plays. Things happen because he's willing to sacrifice. And I respect it. Tomahawk.
For the Chiefs.
Yes, exactly. There are guys that, even if they're not the most physically talented, can go above and beyond.
Eric always jumping in saying, go Pack, go. Always. Appreciate it, man. Love the comment.
Yes, and we're welcoming you back because I know last week was tough for Packers fans. But it was still a good run. Again, I think people need to kind of limit the expectations because this was a 6-win team last year. Great year for the Pack.
Ian says AJ from Iowa. Definitely a top 15 pick in his
No, I know, and I wasn't making fun of your spelling, but I know I knew exactly who you meant.
To be honest,
but I can't say anything.
It was more me just making a debate than it is debating this guy being a good player. I'm not saying anything about him. I don't know anything about the guy as far as work ethic or what he is towards looking towards football and how he holds himself. I just seen him play. So it was just a conversation. Never felt like I saw himself hold himself back.
You're not saying he's out of the first round for you.
Yeah, it's just...
It wasn't about the player. It was about the situation.
About the situation. Okay. Absolutely.
Fair enough. And I agree with you, Ian. He is a top 15 pick, period. But I think this year might be more so because I don't think there's that elite talent at defensive end. There's a couple guys that are amazing, and then you get a more of a gap than we see in some other years at defensive end. There's not a Brian Burns that someone's taking 16th and feeling like they got a good pick here. like Carolina did. There's not
he could work out.
Well, he was good. No, I'm saying good, but I'm saying like there were so many defensive ends in that draft that Carolina was like, well, we can wait. We can get our guy.
Yeah.
I don't think this draft is going to be like that. There's going to be a few of them at the top, and I think that's why you see him sneak up at the edge rusher position, and then the rest of the guys you're going to see go in the second and third and fourth round.
Sean, we have gone to our off-season schedule. Besides this week, where we'll have an extra show, probably around the Super Bowl, not for sure. We'll let you know.
If you have a specific baseball question you'd like to talk about, we can.
Just real quickly.
But every time we talk baseball, everybody leaves.
Yeah. Real quickly, the schedule is Monday and Thursdays now during the off season. This week will be a little bit different, but yes, by all means, man, give us a baseball question, and we're glad to talk about it. But there's just too much to talk about right now to bring in baseball.
Okay, we'll round it out. Are you ready to do this last topic? Exactly what we want to bring you. I know, Drew, you have some personal stake in this with I can't even remember his name. Kareem Hunt. Our running back.
Personal stake.
Pulled over. Well, you do have a bit of a stake in this story.
I threw some stock
You're still jaded. You're still jaded.
He stole me a Super Bowl.
I know. Unless they win this one, you're going to be jaded forever. You're going to be like, I could have won that year.
Yeah,
we could have put up 13 points against the Rams.
We probably could have, yeah.
More than 3.
We wouldn't be hoping for D Ford not to be a whole body length across the line.
Maybe if Kareem Hunt's there, you don't care about that play.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That play doesn't matter no more.
Kareem Hunt, if you haven't heard, pulled over today for possession in Ohio. And in doing so, again, he got pulled over, told the cop, like, hey, it's the offseason, man. I'm just trying to have some fun. Does this matter? He's likely to be a free agent here. Cleveland's moving on. You've got so many changes. Nobody knows if they're going to offer him a contract in the next couple weeks. That opens, I believe, March 7th, I think the tampering period is. March 8th. I know the league year starts on the 15th, and I think that's when everyone's a free agent.
Yeah.
If you're Cleveland, does this bother you? I'm going to ask you just rapid-fire questions. If you're Cleveland, does the drug bust bother you? I mean, we're talking about marijuana here. We're not talking about it and like a little bit of it. He's not El Chapo.
I'm going to look at this completely different. I'm going to look at it from the GM side. It does bother you that it might be suspended, but this drops his paycheck. He's not going to get paid as much.
I agree. And Michael says, who am I going for in the Super Bowl? Michael, I have no dog in this fight. On one hand, I would like to see Drew finally get to see his team win the Super Bowl. On the other hand, I don't want to sit next to Drew for the next year if his team wins the Super Bowl. It's already unbearable enough to hear them talk about the Chiefs 24/7 and how they're the greatest franchise in NFL history and everything else. So if the 49ers win it, my heart won't be broken.
I never once said that.
But if the Chiefs win it...
But now that you mention it...
But if the Chiefs win... I won't be heartbroken either. Again, I just hope it's a good game. That's all I'm hoping for, Michael. I already picked the 49ers as my favorite. I know Kansas City came out as a 1.5 favorite. I think it should be reversed. I think the 49ers, in my book, are about a 1.5 better than the Chiefs. But it's close. I think both of these teams are good enough to win this thing.
See you, Sean, man. Come at us with any New York Yankees questions. Free agents for next year. Dude, I'm not going to lie, man. That's too far for me to really know about the contracts that are going out.
You're not up to date with every baseball free agent coming up in 2021.
I know.
We know a lot, but
isn't that crazy?
We know a lot, but I don't know that either. Again, I love the GM standpoint for pretty much any kind of argument you make, but this one, again, over my head too, Sean. I can look into it. And I can give you an opinion.
I can't believe Michael didn't ask me who I was going for in the Super Bowl.
I know. Crazy how that works,
dude.
Can we talk about Kareem Hunt?
Listen. If I was one game away I am one game away from you. I could tie our off-season guesses on wins and losses with the Super Bowl.
But you're 2 behind, so just go for it.
No, I won one last week.
Yeah, but you were 3 behind when you won the one last week.
No, I was only 2 behind.
It's already you're mathematically defeated. You needed the Pro Bowl, which we didn't pick, and you needed it this year. You're 2 behind.
I am Florida. I want a recount.
You can
recount.
You're welcome to go through all the notes. But I'll say this: I'm already your champ. I already won the entire season pick'em this year, so I ripped that belt from you.
No
I think
way.
I climbed the ladder first, and I seize it. And I'm not even a WWE fan. I'm making all this stuff up. But I now am your champion, not only for the draft, but for the regular season as well.
It's about time you win something, because obviously the teams...
3 out of 4, Drew.
The teams you root for don't win. Anyways.
Says the Chiefs fan. All right, it's been a while. You're due, right? You're due.
Michael says a bad thing is he likes the hell out of Andy Reid, but not this Sunday.
Yes. I think a lot of people like Andy Reid, but then when you're playing him, you're like, I wish he wasn't there.
I liked him in Philadelphia.
I did too. I do too. Great teams, too. Deshaun Jackson, Westbrook.
Westbrook, yeah.
Donovan McNabb. I think he made Donovan McNabb as good as he was.
Pinkston.
I think he made McNabb as good as he was. Honestly, I don't, and this is a conversation for another show, but I don't think McNabb has the career McNabb has without Andy Reid. Look at what he did with Alex Smith, and I'm not even going to talk about Patrick Mahomes. Look at what he did with Alex Smith and Matt Moore. Yeah. This guy gets the best out of every guy. Everyone under center, he gets the best out of. Period.
Yeah.
It's going to be a challenge for the 49ers. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great game. I think we're in for some scoring. I don't think it's going to be as high as a lot of people are saying.
Did he take over after the 2-4 season? 2-14 season?
For the Niners?
Chiefs?
Wait.
Andy Reid.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure when he got there. I'm not sure when they fired, what's his ass from Cleveland.
Yeah, don't remind me.
I want to say Eric Mangini, but it's not. He was just their offensive. Todd Haley.
Yeah.
They fired Todd Haley and signed Andy Reid.
Romeo Cannell and Jesus.
Why would you do that? I don't know.
Jesus.
Then again, I was the guy saying Cleveland shouldn't have fired him when they fired Hugh Jackson. Whatever. Definitely not. Michael says Jim Harbaugh saves Alex Smith's career. Yeah, I agree. He did. Because up until that point, he had the same numbers as Vince Young. I mean, if he didn't have like a halfway decent with Harbaugh, or halfway decent year with Harbaugh out there in San Fran, and then they just had Kaepernick, I don't know that he goes on anywhere else. I don't know that the Chiefs bring him up.
He's a first-round pick.
Yeah, and you're going to be like, he's been terrible.
Vince
Young was a first-round pick.
Look how many first-round picks get a second chance.
Vince Young was a first-round pick. And don't bring up Tannehill. I know you're going to do that to tug on my heartstrings. But
let's all kind of admit something about Vince Young, okay?
He was terrible. And you know who had the same numbers? Alex Smith. And everyone's like, my God.
Yeah,
then he had the year with Harbaugh. And you were like, no, like almost identical. Rushing, passing, it was almost the same.
Different style of player.
Yeah, sure. Now that we're said and done. But back then, there were not a lot of people that were like, you got to have Alex Smith.
Another guy that gave his all during college and laid a dump in the NFL.
Sure. Just because you give it your all doesn't mean you're a good player. But if you don't give it your all and you go to the NFL, you better be pretty good.
Just means you're wearing yourself out, and it's not.
Is that what it is? Okay.
And now you're broke.
So why even play college
Now you're
football?
broke. Well, I might be with you. Pay the guy.
Chris says there's going to be some good moments in the Super Bowl game. He can feel it. What are we going to do if this is a 6-3 affair? I don't think it's going to happen either.
Michael
but I didn't
just
think.
Asked, what do you all think the score will be on Sunday? It won't be that.
But that's what we said against the Patriots and the Rams. Remember, the Rams lit it up. The Patriots the year before put up more passing yards than anybody. What if it is? What if it's 6-3 and nobody can do anything and it's just terrible?
It's not.
I don't think so either. But man, I would love that. That would be the best story. And I don't care which team has 6 and which team has 3. I would just love for that to happen. I would just love it because you know what? It would give me some ammo back against you. You could be like, well, we won the Super Bowl. I'd be like, you scored 6 points.
I'd be like, how many Super Bowl rings?
Yeah. And I'd be like, you scored 6 points.
1. We have 1. You have 0. Actually, we'd have 2. Now
you see this? Point. This is why I'm rooting for the 49ers.
Just because you pick a terrible team to love.
We have. Oh, so I should just jump on the bandwagon.
You could like Buffalo. You grew up around Buffalo. You could like Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo's a great team. I know they went to 4, Drew, but they lost them all.
Oh, man.
That was actually before I got into it.
Ian says 31-28 in overtime, Kansas City. I think it'll be high scoring like that, too. To be honest, I'm actually looking...
I like that score, too. I think it'll be somewhere around there. Maybe 34, 31.
I'm more a 38-31, 34 kind of person, but that's just mine.
But I've also heard like 45, 43, 40, all that. It's just, in the playoffs, there's going to be... Look, the corners love the playoffs because that means... Normally, you call the pass interference unless I really mug somebody. That call's not coming in. So I just don't see 45 points on the board. You're not going to get the same number of calls because the refs are going to say, I don't want to be the guy that they're like, he blew the Super Bowl for my team. You don't want to be Jim Joyce that blew the perfect game.
It's nothing we all predicted.
6-3. Exactly. What if the Patriots come in wrestling style and just play the game for the 49ers? I mean, anything could happen. It won't, but anything could happen. They're going to score some points. I am with you on that, but I would just be entertained to hell and back.
Well,
if they score six points, the winner has 6 points.
We've got a lot more time to talk about the Super Bowl coming up.
We do
in future episodes.
But we need to talk about Kareem Hunt.
We did
slightly, just real quick. I don't think this hurts him at all.
You just gotta put more onto it, huh?
Always. Oh well, I asked you. You didn't ask me. I didn't get to say anything
because you've spoken enough of Kareem Hunt. All the negativity. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, let me give you some positivity. I don't think this hurts him at all.
Yeah,
because I think all the NFL owners are going to be like, oh, that's terrible. I'm an old crotchety white guy. I don't like this. I don't like you using
What's
drugs.
wrong with old crotchety white guys?
Nothing's wrong with them, but they don't like drugs historically, right?
Well, they're probably all on drugs.
Some for
Not
sure.
all of them.
Well, Jim Irsay for sure. Sorry, Colts fans. But again, I think you're going to get some owners that might maybe throw some negative kind of feelings to this. You may get one or two of the prudier GMs. I'm looking at you, Chris Ballard. They're like, I'm not even considering him. No, he's off our radar. Outside of that, I think just about everybody's gonna be like, it's weed. It was very little of it. It's the off season. I could care less.
Have been caught with that, yeah.
I don't think it's a good look when you're coming off a domestic violence thing where you missed 10 games on the season because of it.
It depends on, well, we never know what Roger Goodell's going to do, but realistically, these are two different issues, and hopefully he only looks at it as for Kareem Hunt fans, he only looks at it as a one violation. It's not a multiple violation scenario.
As long as he can dodge like that long-term suspension. I think 4 games. There's not going to be a GM out here that bats an eye. You're right. I think it drives his price down a little bit. Outside of that, I think there's going to be 16, 17, 18 teams that are going to be absolutely interested in having him on their team. They're going to try to pay him $3.5 million instead of $5 million. Seattle. Let's just go down the... No, let's not go down the list because that'll take too long. Everybody would love to have this guy as a second running back. Everybody.
What? Chargers? No.
Maybe the Chargers don't, but with Melvin Gordon on his way out, wouldn't you give him like a $2 million contract if he's on his way out? You got Eckler and you got Kareem Hunt, and maybe you start moving away from Melvin Gordon if he wants to leave.
I was if Gordon's still there, it's probably...
Okay.
I'm trying to think what teams don't need him. Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, they got Zeke.
Giants.
I'm going to say Minnesota because we like what Madison and Dalvin Cook together. I mean, both of those guys. Madison put up similar numbers.
My point is the teams on the
in
other
less
end,
carries and everything else.
The point is the other teams that don't need him are probably a lot smarter than the teams that do need him.
Exactly. So I don't think it really matters, but I will say this. It's not a good look for a guy coming off domestic violence. I do question exactly what's going through this dude's head. That you would put yourself in this situation. But we kind of said that about the domestic assault, even though I was the guy that was kind of defending him, and I took a lot of flack for it when I was like, you got to look at it. There's levels to all these things. He basically kind of toe tapped a woman with his foot, and everyone was talking about it like he kicked her in the face. I don't think it was a good look. I definitely don't think it was a good look. I don't think this is a good look. But there's levels to all these things, and having a little bit of weed on you in the off season in 2020, where it's legal in almost half the country now. Are we losing our minds over this? I think the answer is probably not. And like you said, Ian said Seattle. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to be like, I don't care about this. You might miss 4 games, but I'll take the risk. Maybe not Philip Lindsay. Well, we like Rolls Royce.
You can smoke weed here, buddy.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. All right, guys. Unless we have any other groundbreaking opinions about Kareem Hunt, I did want to talk about it. We talked about everything else.
Yeah, I'm good.
I think we did a pretty good job. We totally covered all of it. The complex issue of marijuana in the American legal system.
No, I'm not getting into that conversation.
No, we're not either. But we'll be back for other conversations. Maybe we'll talk about it on Thursday. Probably not. We're going into the Super Bowl
on our
Thursday.
other podcast.
Yes, that never happened. We'll be back on Thursday. Same time, 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central. We're going all Super Bowl. We're selling out.
Yep.
Maybe some other things, like if something else happens, we'll talk about it, but 85%, 95%, 105%. It's all going to be about the Super Bowl. We hope to catch you there. Again, it's more fun when you guys are here. We have some special thanks, as we always do. And the reason we do this is because, guys, it wouldn't be any fun if me and Drew were just talking to the camera and we had 300 million people watching silently on the other end of it. We have fun when you kind of put your opinions into it. Even when I'm like, what are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about. Blah, 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 blah. Even when I'm yelling about it. It's better because... Not on purpose.
No, towards me.
It's better because you're putting your opinion on. See, I even gave one of our viewers a spot in the show. It's better when you give your opinions, guys, and we've got some special thanks because of that.
Guys, again, thank you all for the likes, comments, and shares. Michael, Chris, Adam, Nathan, Sean, Ryan, Adrian, Brian, Rob, Adam, Frank, Will, Ian, Chris, Richard, Sonny, Luke, Eric,
and AJ Epineza. Thank you all, specifically.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being victims of this show.
Exactly. We're sorry for whatever kind of loss you incurred from having watched this.
And And Ian, thank you for the shout out, guys. Remember, we do have T-shirts. If you want to support us, by all means, feel free to
click on our name, click on that shop tab,
buy a T-shirt, support us, tell your friends and family about us, man. The more people we got involved in this, the show becomes that much greater.
Exactly. With that, any final thoughts, Drew, before we go and drink some more?
Nope, just go drink some.
Did we mess up enough? We're just gonna give up.
Dude, we're gonna argue about what it means to give up on your football.
We weren't
team.
at our sharpest. What's it like to give up on your dreams? Because I'm about to give up on mine as we speak. About to give up. I mean, that was terrible. The whole show. I was just tripping over my words. It's terrible. We'll see you guys on Thursday. We're going to discuss this. We'll be better then.
Jake, we still love you because you
Appreciate
are
that.
just a giant board of flaws. I don't know what it's called. You billboard of flaws. Jake, human of flaws. Jake of flaws.
We'll be back on Thursday. That's all I can say.
See ya.